timing down correctly for when I can do these streams. It's, you know, things happen, and this is like a really crazy time for anybody that didn't notice. And yeah, I think it's important that we all just stay focused on trying to stay positive. So I'm gonna do my best to keep the stream today more oriented in that kind of a direction. Because it's otherwise, this is not. There's no fun in watching this. So at any rate, just some local stuff to go over. Just I'm gonna kind of like breeze past some of the stuff that I didn't cover in the past week or so that I wasn't doing the stream. I know I was keeping up pretty regularly, so uh, this will sort of be making up. Um, yeah. So let's see here. So Clean has anybody knows So Clean, the town. They're one of the bigger companies in town. They do CPAP cleaning. They've machines to clean CPAP machines. They have spearheaded a massive 250,000 mask giveaway by April 17th. So that's a really big deal that one of our local companies has decided to make such a big difference and help out in such a big way. Something I noticed is that Shaw's has introduced one-way aisles now, so you have to walk one direction when you're going around there. I'm sure plenty of people have already noticed this if you had to go there, so they're making it a little bit easier or safer for people who do actually have to go out and get groceries, because that process still needs to occur. Definitely saw people complaining on the internet about how we think it's somehow safe to go to the grocery store, but it's not safe to go to work, and that's just nobody's saying that. I don't know why that's a talking point, but it shouldn't be. Um, it's not safe to go to the grocery store. Everybody knows that. Anytime I've gone to the grocery store, most people are really careful. I don't know why we haven't gotten our local grocery people to be. I don't know why they're not wearing masks. Granted, I haven't been out yet. I was going to go out and get groceries later today, so I'll find out and maybe I can bring that back. Something that is happening this evening as well is the Facebook live stream as well as Ustream of select board meeting. So, and they're going to do updates. So definitely catch that later on this evening. That's town of Peterborough, New Hampshire. You can just search that on Facebook. It'll pop up, and you can watch the broadcast the Zoom meeting there. Um, let's see. We've got the local makerspace in town. They're doing a bunch of shield making. They're combination of laser cutting and 3D printing. They're 3D printing the visors that hold the shield, and then laser cutting the plexi that comes down. So we've got a bunch of different efforts happening locally to make a real noticeable difference in. So I think this is probably pretty quiet. I'm gonna pull the mic a bit closer to my face, and hopefully that'll make a difference here. So yeah, we've had a lot of big efforts locally to make a difference here. Uh, MCH is reporting that they are preparing for the surge. It hasn't happened here yet, and actually to that end, we can sort of can pop that up. That's so we'll kind of get into sort of just the regular old COVID detailing, and there's actually part of the reason I wanted to do a new stream was to help people with resources about just like where like good sites to look at if you want to have better overall information that's not really like not delivered in a really catastrophic or like panicked way like you'd get if you turn in a cable news. I can't stand watching. I mean, I don't have cable, but I see their videos that they post up from their actual broadcast as well as other snippets, and it's horrible. So you know, it's good to know what's happening in the news through events and stuff like that, but man, please, like, I'm going to show you some places where you can actually get the hard data, and it's way better to go there and get it. That's what I try and pull anytime I'm doing these. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Um, we have town deliberative session is postponed until June 16th. Um, we've had a lot of major cancellations just generally in the area. Obviously, Thing in the Spring has been put off until next year, just outright. Um, so yeah, there's been some big, big cancellations that have been happening. Mm, I don't know. It's a bummer, but on the flip side, we do have a lot of people that are taking really big steps to make a difference. We've got JD Leadham, local sewing machine repairman, who's come out of retirement to give up his services for free. So if you've got a broken sewing machine that you need to get fixed so that you can make PPEs, then he's somebody to get in touch with. We'll make sure that by the end of this, we'll have a link in the description. There was an article in the Ledger transcript that you can check out as well. I believe that they have, last I checked, they had the paywall turned off for anything COVID-19 related. So if you're concerned that you won't be able to read any of the articles pertaining to this, don't worry. You absolutely will be able to read this stuff. They want to make sure that it's available for everybody, which I think is it's a good move. I am I'm happy to see that they made the decision to do that. It's a big deal. So yeah, and with that, I think I will just sort of hop on to the we'll just hop over this. We'll get into it. So here's New Hampshire numbers as of the 6th at 9 a.m. So it's uh here it is the 7th at 1:16, so we'll probably see new information. Likely Sununu is going to go live again soon. They've been doing daily briefings on WMUR, and I did want to pop over and show a clip from that because that's actually got him talking about the latest sort of big change pertaining to Airbnb and hospitality, hotels, stuff like anything in that industry. So at any rate, here we're up to 715 cases in the state. We've had 151 people recover, 9 deaths, puts it about 1%. They've now broken it down by county, and they're actually giving numbers within those counties. It's definitely important to note that aside from Rockingham County, Hillsborough is the hottest spot. It's even when you're excluding Manchester and Nashua from the rest of the county, it's still really bad. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna happen. This was expected. We're seeing it have a relatively even movement, and we're actually going to show sort of the trajectory of this and how this has been charted out. Oh, we're getting. See if we can get the. There we go. Okay, so here is sort of the state chart, and I wanted to bring this up. I'll have a link to this particular piece of this tool in the description afterwards. This is I mean, you can pull it up if you just do 91-divoc.com or COVID-19 backwards. I'll pull this up, and this is essentially the real time data that's being aggregated from Johns Hopkins. I'll show that data in a minute too, but this is charted out. They give you the option to look at it in both log and linear scale, which is nice. So there's you're able to change the change the way it looks. For some reason, my browser is being a little funky right now, but and I haven't always had the best luck with this site. Sometimes it doesn't want to pop everything up, but this is the actual source that you'll see people grabbing screenshots of all the time, and you can kind of switch it around and update it. But you'll notice here that we're pretty well under the a lot of the other states as far as uh, keeping our curve low. It's important to remember that just because we've kept our curve low doesn't mean that we can just start going out again. And also, it's important to note that it's not particularly consistent throughout. There's a lot of bumps in it, which probably means that the data coming in for New Hampshire isn't necessarily indicative of what's actually going on. It might be, but it might also not be 100% accurate. So it doesn't have a smoothness to it. So there's and it's important to remember how many variables play into measuring reported cases of anything. I mean, that's just it's kind of part of the deal. But I mean, generally speaking, if you bump it up to the United States, we look at ourselves nationally, we're much well above that 35% daily curve. We crossed it over on day 23, but we're still we're beating out just every other country. This is wild, and our state itself may be pulling that stat down a little. We might be helping, but it's still important to remember that what we're involved in here and what we're dealing with. This is normalized by population, and when you average this out and equalize it, you do see that we are actually a bit closer to everybody else in terms of the proportionality to the population. And there are states that are sort of ahead of us. Granted, what this chart shows is that we're simply more days into the process at this point in time. Louisiana, for example, up here isn't providing any data past day 26. So all this has a lot to do with just how this stuff is reported. And that's just how that works. So I did want to take some time to talk about unemployment information. We had over 56,000 unemployment claims in 2 weeks in this state. Okay, so that I just want to establish a number on the outset here. What kind of numbers we're dealing with, and 56,000 is a pretty overwhelming number for our state unemployment system, especially because it's just fairly busted up and not well designed in the first place. It's not meant to accommodate this. We've had to change a lot of rules out last minute. Obviously, suddenly trying to accommodate for self-employed people, it's a really, really complex wrench to throw into the works. And then it's important to understand that they're trying really hard, and we're actually in this state we're doing really well in the sense that we're putting a $600 boost on weekly payouts for unemployment, which for many people would mean that they could well be making more off unemployment than they were making at their day job, which I personally don't see that as an issue. Because most of these people were having a hard time getting by anyways, so you're really just putting enough money in their pocket to actually do their thing, and make sure that it's like without without a regular stack up of bills or a chance to alleviate, it's like this is it would provide a sense of normalcy and stability for folks and help them mentally get through this period where things are going to be really, really difficult. I don't see the problem with helping people that are poor. And what the issue is here, I think it's important that we recognize we don't even pay living wage anyways. I've talked in previous videos about how you would need to make 22 like roughly $22 an hour if you wanted to actually afford to live here in Peterborough, New Hampshire. So, you know, that for people who even, making a decent amount of money to be making more, that's really just that I think that's incredibly reasonable. That's not an issue. Um, but the reality is the number of people coming in is overwhelming to the system. Now, I myself am going through this as I do these broadcasts. Like this doesn't really provide um, income for me in any, big, we have patrons that support this and help keep a lot of the domain maintenance and those types of things up, and that's really awesome, and we really appreciate that support. But again, this doesn't, this other jobs have to occur, and the COVID-19 situation has affected my ability to go out and search for work. And it has for a lot of other people that I know, people that can't put themselves at risk because high risk jobs are really kind of the only places that are hiring right now. So that puts you in a bit of a bind. It's unfortunate. Uh, but we're doing a lot to help people through this scenario. Now, the reason I bring up my own experiences is because I personally experienced something yesterday. I'll tell the story, and then I'll point out that when I went to try and research to see, like, hey, has anybody made any announcements about this? Has this, like, are there any articles about this? Has this been talked about at all? No, nothing. So, what I wanted, and I know that people who are dealing with unemployment right now, I've talked to folks that are dealing with unemployment right now, and this is probably the number one thing that I hear from people when they're talking about it, and the problems associated is nobody knows when they're going to receive their payments. Okay, so this is a big part of it. Is they have, it's not like, when you go to get a job, they'll tell you, okay, here's your payday. This is your payday. You're going to get paid on Thursday. You're going to get paid on Friday, right? Well, if you, after heavy digging around, you have to go to the I'm, you have to really try with NHES to find out what day they're actually going to pay out. Now, what they've said is that they do their payouts on Mondays. They fill everything out so that they're going to pay out on a Tuesday morning. Like that's when things go through. That's when checks go out. That's when whatever, right? So in my own personal experience, I had called last week. I did qualify. I've never been through the process before. For anybody who doesn't know what this process is like, you have to file your initial claim, and then on the start of the next week, so that following Sunday, the next coming Sunday, you have to file for continuation. That submits your first week, and that's when things really start to get rolling. You wouldn't get that money until the following week, right? Much the same way a pay period would work or a biweekly pay period would work. You see what you get the following period. Makes sense. So the thing about this is I spoke to them when I initially heard this. I didn't know this. I spoke to somebody last week that said they explained this scenario to me. Okay, cool. They had reached out again to me towards the end of the weekend about something else related to a claim that wasn't affecting anything, but I felt like I wasn't going to have a proper grip on it unless I just spoke to somebody. So I made the call. I sat there. I waited, got hung up on 3 times, like 3-4 times. I had something really interesting happen to me that I've never had happen to me before, which was I I actually had the phone ring twice and then it gave me a busy signal. Just super interesting. I've never experienced that before. That was kind of cool and new, I guess, but not cool. Um, at any rate, finally get connected, sit there, listen to their weird, mushy beat for about 45 minutes. Woman picks up the phone. She tells, we're talking about whatever claim that I had going on that I needed to address, and just, okay, cool, we deal with it. It's fine. And then towards the end of it, I just say, hey, I'm just curious. I want to check in and see what do you guys have any updates on when this is going to come out? I know I had somebody say it would be Monday or Tuesday. My thinking was this was a little bit vague. I'd just like to see if maybe a different person can give me something more specific, or maybe something's changed in the system that's updated it. I can see what's going on. So I ask her, I'm like, hey, what's up? And I say I was expecting this. I spoke to somebody who said I could see it Monday or Tuesday, and the woman just kind of sighed and then tells me that I probably won't see anything until later in the week, maybe next week. That they had been promising that they would go out at the beginning of this week, and that she wasn't seeing that happen. So, I mean, like, that's that's not good. And I think the reason I go there is because this is about people getting groceries, okay? This is about people paying for basic stuff that they need right now. It's I get that this is overwhelming for the system. I really do. I get that things are broken and that we have severely underfunded everything essentially that's related to helping unemployment operate in the state of New Hampshire. We've really just gutted the entire thing. But this is pretty serious. And if you're having a hard time getting money to people that have given you direct deposit information, you know, I don't know. I personally don't really know what to do with that. And and it's like if you you know hop over to say their hop over to their Twitter page, right? Like we'll go take a look at that. Um, this is really they don't address this here. There's no public statements. There's no nothing about notifying any of the people that would be receiving benefits that there could be a delay in them receiving those benefits. The fact that you have to make a call to NHES right now and wait like potentially upwards of an hour to hear from them about whether or not um they're going to be on time with what they agree to do. It's like, and talking to this representative, she tells me that, oh, well, if you had made it in a week before, you'd probably be okay. Like, I'm just in the wrong wave. And And they will share information like, oh, our system will not be available on Wednesday the 8th from 8 to 11 p.m. for planned maintenance. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know what kind of maintenance they're doing, but they need a complete overhaul at this point. This isn't just um this isn't just about some quick fixes. Like if you go through their portal, it's like, and maybe it has to do with security. I don't know why it's set up the way it is or why it hasn't been updated, but their system is really archaic. uh the third party windows that they use, that it's just, there are a lot of opportunities in the online system for things to run into error, and they don't really explain well, or that, like, the language that they use to tell you stuff is pretty opaque, so you can't really, there's, oh, yeah, there's just, it's not particularly accessible information. I think that's really the biggest takeaway, is that whatever you need to do to get through it is not accessible, and the system that they're using is really kind of antiquated as far as the internet is concerned, and filling out forms. So eh, I don't know, what where you go about that, but what I think is important for folks to understand is that you're not don't one, if you are expecting unemployment benefits, do not make promises to anybody. Don't expect that you're going to have it at any time. Okay. One thing that I was told is that you will absolutely, like, when it does come through, you will get everything backdated to the point at which you had originally filed. So, it's not like you don't get what you had been promised during that period of time, but it's just going to come in a deluge later. And that doesn't, that, cool, but that doesn't help people in the now. That doesn't help people that are hungry right now. That doesn't help people that, you know, need a certain good or service right now. It's not helping landlords. And something else that's not happening is that we won't do any rent relief in this state. That's not something that's occurred. Um, and Sununu's logic on that was essentially, well, the money that we're giving is sufficient to cover this, basically. Um, so yeah. I want folks to understand that this unemployment thing is super bad. Okay, it is so bad right now, and you know, if you're waiting for the money, I personally feel the struggle and the anxiety that's associated with it, so I'm there with you. Um, it's okay because we're all dealing with this together. It's not this. I know that that's cold comfort. It really doesn't. It doesn't make a significant difference um, in the now. And then the other thing is, like, if you're somebody that's depending on money from someone that you know is going through the unemployment ringer right now, give them a break. Like, absolutely give them a break. this money is going to come through at some point. It's just a matter of dealing with the insane obstacle of having nearly 57,000 cases report in 2 weeks. They've never dealt with a number like that before. And just speaking with their representatives, they are incredibly overwhelmed. It's like it's so bad, and they're so stressed out. So, if you do have to call them, if you're talking to them, don't get mad at the rep on the phone. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not trying to give you bad news. They don't want to make problems in your life, but it's, yeah. It's the unemployment thing has definitely been really rough. Um, it's been rough for people, but there there will be some light at the. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Had a computer crash in the middle of that, so I'm sorry that happened. At the very least, I think I was able to still maintain the stream, so hopefully that didn't totally tank, and it was a good opportunity for me to sort of check myself and get out of a weird headspace that whole segment was putting me in, because it's like, ugh, and I hope people can like get value out of, like I do this because I'm in it with everybody. So yeah, yeah. 2 seconds, folks. I just want to check on one quick thing. I'll be right back. Just want to make sure that there's a technical issue that's been resolved. So give me one moment. Okay, and let's come back. We're good. Just wanted to try and get some levels right, dealing with some issues related to that. So, anywho, yeah. So cool. Unemployment situation super duper sucks, and I think people who are owed right now, be really sensitive. If you know anybody that's going through it and you have access to resources, reach out to them. They may not feel comfortable reaching out for help because it's a really tough thing to go through, not being able to help yourself that way. Um, that's it's a really it's really mentally jarring to have to go through that, and it can be really crushing for a lot of people to have to just all of a sudden have that totally ripped away from them. People that have worked every single day of their lives since they were 14 or so. Those are the people to try and keep in mind, that how this kind of thing really can hurt them mentally, and it's just as much a personal health thing in terms of how we deal with it. So it's important to know that folks who are dealing with unemployment are dealing with not getting accurate information about when they will see their payments, and that's not good. So okay, let's let's see here. What else did I have going on today? There were a number of segments that I wanted to sort of hop over. Yeah. So, and actually, yeah, and here was the we do I do have the report here. on WMUR about the about just those unemployment numbers. Here it was. They're actually reporting directly, 56,833 in 2 weeks. So that's pretty serious. Definitely rough. Um, we've got people just like completely overwhelming um, trailheads. That's been a huge issue in the state. Um, I like that was, it's these out of staters coming in, and actually this is sort of where I can hop to the Sununu clip. Um, we'll talk about that a little bit because that's you know it's yeah, it's bad, and I think like the out of state people is really the one of the things that New Hampshire folks really need to be conscious of, that like out of state people are coming and they're not caring at all about uh overwhelming our resources. So we've got Sununu here, and he's going to talk about sort of initiative to get folks to find local trails that people don't go on as much. Um, so we'll just pop that over. We'll get that up right now, and we'll get this rolling. And I'm just gonna let it go for a second. We'll talk about it. Okay, yeah. I mean, cool. Like he's, great. This all sounds nice. I mean, this is what a logical adult should be doing. So this is not like, I mean, good. I'm glad this is happening. I wish that he had made this. He had put the kibosh on non-essential use of hospitality services. Like, I don't know, a week and a half ago, 2 week, like 3 weeks ago. Like, I, dude, that should have happened way sooner. So I don't know. That's ridiculous, but something to just sort of keep in mind uh, for anybody that doesn't, thinks he's doing the right thing every day, all the time. Um, just friendly reminder that we've got stuff like this. Okay. Um, you know, in the middle of this whole thing, him and Edelblut, like this is an education commissioner, and they're launching a campaign to get backpacks to kids. Like, come on, dude, this is ridiculous. That's utterly absurd. In the middle of like look at these guys. What is this? What do they think this is? I'm I'm just at a loss here. Like they're on QVC. This is from April 1st. This is from April 1st, okay? And they're on QVC selling backpacks. I I really like. One does not negate the other. Okay. Sununu can do a good job. Okay, he can do a good job at some of this stuff, right? He can make the adult decision from time to time, which is frankly not that hard to do. If you just have basic logic and reasoning you went through grade school, you can do this stuff. It shouldn't be that. I say it shouldn't be, but it really like it's not, you know, all you have to do is not be a completely evil person to do some of the right stuff. And I mean, you can even be evil as heck and just want to like get, like it's just bad for business. You know what I mean? Like there's totally that angle for it as well. No doubt there's always that possibility. But like, this is our governor and our education commissioner. Like, this is not the time, dudes. This is not the time. So always weigh both sides of whatever you hear in these daily briefings, because it's like I can't stress enough how push pull this is. Like, this is not like that. It's not one or the other. That's just that. That's not. I don't want to. I don't have to get too deep into it. It's I personally find that like Sununu's ability to do the right thing in some of these moments is actually almost more dangerous, because it gives the impression that he knows like what the right thing to do is, but it's not really that. Like, it's not entirely that. There's always another angle. You got to think like with this dude, I always try to think, how is he trying to make a buck here? Like, because I don't even necessarily think it's totally malicious. I just think he literally doesn't know how to think about things in a different, like that's the lens he views the world from, is in profit and loss. It's like everything is about a sale or a transaction, or it's about doing business. There's not more to it. And so as long as that's the case, you need to always consider that whatever he's doing is going to be through that frame. And I don't think there's been a day that's gone by that Chris Sununu didn't think about what he's going to do after he's governor, and how what he can do now can help set himself up for that. You don't do something and not have a goal attached to it. That's how that's that's how people are. So remember the motivation, because it just it matters. It really, really matters. That's all there is to it. So, all right, I did say that I wanted to get to some quick COVID resources, so I'm going to do that before I hop off. I think I wanted to talk about some national stuff, but I think I'm going to leave that for the next time I come back, and we'll go over some of those things. Then I wanted to prepare that stuff a little bit better for next time. So let's see here. So first off, the one that I really like, the first thing to get to people is the Johns Hopkins resource. So we're gonna pop over to that. So this is the Johns Hopkins coronavirus live information stream. It's gonna show you really, really granular information. And it does update in real time. as it says here, last updated today at 12:04. So we're looking at the most recent information as of just under 2 hours ago. Obviously, you can take a look at the whole world, but it does allow you to kind of hone in on stuff. You can zoom in. This sort of does show you just how generally widespread this is. Obviously, the coasts are dealing with it a lot harder, but it's now chicken poxed all over the country. So we're in it, folks. Allows you to break it down by state and territory, and then this actually gets into counties. Ranks them by number of cases. So this is a pretty useful tool. They give you actual, daily increase numbers. They'll give you the data in logarithmic or linear. It's just a nice live tracker if you want to just get a quick overview of some of the data. Okay, so we had showed everybody the 91 DIVOC. This is a really, really great visualization of the data that we already have. So if you want to see sort of hard information, these are not projections. This isn't going to show you anything that we can expect or what could happen. That's not the way to look at this data. This data is about understanding what's already there. Again, this website, the 91 DIVOC, is essentially the same data as the Johns Hopkins stuff, just plotted differently. It's sort of graphed out a little easier to understand if you're not going to just like sift through numbers and numbers and numbers. That other resource can be a little overwhelming. It's, like video game heads up display type of deal, and this is just a bit simpler if you need to do, I see people screen grab this site all the time. All over Twitter. So that's just, and Facebook for that matter. I keep seeing it published in articles. It's just a constant resource that people keep bouncing to. And then, let's see here. This was their update. And then this one is interesting. This is covidactnow.org. This lets you dive deeper on your own your specific state or location, and this is actually going to show you projections. This is where we get into sort of detecting what's going to happen. Now, as of right now, it shows you based on color coding where you're at in what counties, and we need, as is pointed out here, more aggressive action is needed in Hillsborough County as well as Rockingham, Stafford, Carroll, Belknap, Merrimack, and Sullivan. Other, Cheshire County a little bit less at risk, which might be nice for Peterborough because we're closer to it, but frankly, it's still something we need to be considerate of here in our area. Now, this gets into the, how long it's, this is the sort of the whopper of it. We're potentially looking at hospitals being overloaded in 4 to 8 weeks because that we have had relatively lax stay-at-home orders. We haven't really done the full deep clamp down. If you pop around and just go out in the world, there's a lot of people out there, and it's important to get out and do stuff. But if you've got the governor encouraging people to go out and find trails, that's not I'm sorry, it's just still not the same thing as encouraging people to stay in their homes. I'm all for people walking on trails. I did it myself, but you got to be really, really careful about it. And this isn't a joke, folks. This isn't a joke. You got to take this seriously, or we're gonna have some big problems. And we may have MCH really rallying here. Going from a 25 bed critical mass, getting them up to 40 in dedicated areas. But think about that. 40 beds? Just 40? Peterborough alone is a population of 6,000. That hospital serves more people than just this one town. So, this is the kind of overwhelming we're talking about, and it's just like, you know, please just folks just be considerate of it. But that resource right there, this charting right here on COVID Act now, this is actually gonna give you some real stable information. It's the difference, as they're talking here. It's the difference of like 4,000 deaths. Like, that's really significant. And it's just like we're looking at 2,000 deaths anyways. Like, that's grim, folks. That's real grim. So I excuse that. It's real unfortunate. So, at any rate, those are some resources that you can check out. It's pure information. I don't you don't have to get bummed about it necessarily. It's just what you got to know. It's just what you got to do to deal with it. And but be careful about the way you consume it. I try to not read too many articles on it. And then there was when I do read articles, I try to keep them as positive as I possibly can. Like this right here, this will for a little bit of national stuff, report on Science Daily from the 2nd about promising candidate at a University of Pittsburgh. They're talking about getting it. It's testing well in mice through a fingertip-sized patch prick. They were talking about how they had already been sort of working on coronavirus type vaccines because they had been previously concerned about this, and there's actually a reporting at The Nation from Ken Klippenstein had let's see if I can pop this up super fast. He has actual documents. Gotta love actual documents. So here we go. All right. So this is important to note that part of the reason we're doing well with a vaccine, and but this isn't good news. They knew about this. They knew this was the number one threat to in 2017, the military identified a novel influenza disease as the most likely and significant threat. Anticipated a shortage of ventilators, like not. Competition for and scarcity of resources will include MCM, e.g. vaccines, antimicrobials, antibody preparations, non-pharmaceutical MCM, e.g. ventilators, devices, personal protective equipment such as face masks and gloves. Look, this was all like well in plan. We've got a bunch of senators and that did insider trading and sold off a whole bunch of stocks right before they knew this was all going to hit the fan. So this stuff was all going to happen. So there's positive in that article from Science Daily. There's definitely some positives in here about about having sort of had a jump start on it. They're talking about within a couple. Let's see here. Yeah, the authors are now in the process of applying for an investigational new drug approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the U.S. FDA, in anticipation of starting a phase 1 human clinical trial in the next few months. So it's going to be a few months until we can start the human trial. They say testing in patients would typically require at least a year and probably longer. This particular situation is different from anything we've seen, so we don't know how long the clinical development process will take. Recently announced revisions to the normal processes suggest we may be able to advance this faster. Okay, well, that's good, But it's important to remember that when we have rushed vaccines out in the past, it's been to the serious detriment of the population. So that's not always safe, and it's important that we need to get through this. So remember that when they say this, this could, like, I don't know why people are talking about this is going to be over in a couple months. Like, it's not. Like, everybody needs to stop doing that. This is going to take well over 6 months, likely well over 9 months, probably over a year to deal with. We're in this. Our economy will probably never truly be the same after this. We're not going to be able to snap back, and it's really not helpful for folks to be entertaining this thought. It's just not going to happen. So I just want to sort of put a kibosh on that, and and just, yeah, that's how that's going to be. And I don't know what else to say beyond just have appropriate expectations. Just that's all that you got to do, is just have the right expectations for what we're walking into here, and know that this is going to be how things are for a good minute. Okay, we're going to have to completely adapt our entire society to deal with this, and it's okay. It's going to be a little bit painful. I think it's possible for us to do it. I think focusing local is going to be the way to go. Hence why I come out here and try to just talk about local stuff when I can. And that's that. That's just, that's the way I can participate at this particular moment. What I can do at going down the line, maybe I'll be able to do more. Everybody, don't feel bad if you can't do more than whatever you're doing, or you're not able to do anything at all. It's not up. That's not what comes down to it. So don't let an overwhelming number of it feels so great to help everybody in my community posts in Facebook groups make you feel like you're a garbage person for not helping. You're not. You're probably doing something better by just staying out of it. That's honestly, I would say, if you're just turning it off, you're the one that's doing the right thing. It's okay to not be out there putting yourself in harm's way, just in the interests of helping everybody. Staying out of harm's way helps everybody too. So with that, I just, just some quick updates. I gotta get going because I don't want to be doing this for too long. And as I said, I gotta run out and get some groceries. So that's I just errands in life, and I gotta figure out how I'm gonna deal with that. So get all my PPE stuff together, and just everybody be careful, avoid Zoom bombs. I know everybody's using their Zoom chats. Don't let people hack your stuff. Stay secure, be careful, do what you can, stay positive. Listen, there's tons of live music and entertainment happening right now, just all over the internet. So if you've just hop in and get started. I've seen listening parties, I've seen live DJ sets, I've seen live music performances. It's where it's at. That's going to be some hot stuff. And no, I'm not going to talk about Tiger King. So with that, I really appreciate everybody coming out here. Obviously, hit up our Twitter, our Patreon. You like us on Facebook, all that stuff. Definitely subscribe to us on YouTube. Please consider supporting this. Takes a decent amount of effort to make these episodes, and I do enjoy doing it, but I also want to be able to do it more, and I want to be able to sink more time into it. I want to be able to do more investigative stuff, which sometimes I'm able to do, sometimes it's just overwhelming. And again, I know that I've been trying to get some interview content lined up, and I haven't quite gotten there yet, but it's coming. I certainly promise it. And I'll have it together in the very near future. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in today, folks, or whenever you're tuning into this, if you're catching it later. And yeah, take care, stay safe, stay home, stay healthy, stay sane, stay happy. We'll catch you soon, okay?